Welcome to Division Rivals. I'm Kenny Weber.
I'm Lucas Sestro, dude.
And I'm Gabe Cohan.
We've experienced football. Week one's in the books. Some of us are depressed. Some of us are happy. Fantasy football was one thing. The real NFL was another. And we have some time to unpack this. And to talk about week two, first and foremost, we will cover, well, not really foremost, but first, fantasy football was very weird this weekend. It was a weird week one. A lot of big names did not do well. Like shit the bed well. Like badly. Not like just didn't do well. Were terrible. In mine and Gabe's matchup, he squashed me. He won. He should have just not tried.
Wouldn't you have preferred that if I actually just tanked the game, just reflecting back on it?
100%.
Yeah.
Let's give him context. Why did you win? Why did he lose?
I won because I have Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson on my roster.
Easy.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
and then just his team scored more points. That's really why.
Who let you down?
The team.
Yeah.
Okay,
team,
but the
like
main culprits here.
I didn't. It was literally my entire team. Like I didn't score, but I think I scored 115 points. It's like nothing. That's in that league. That's
At
like
least you broke 100. I didn't break 100.
that's like
this
zero.
week.
Yeah, you're even worse.
Yeah.
So you were literally. I was the second worst in that league, and you were the worst, Lucas.
Yeah,
So
I was. Yeah, my team's called suspended, dude.
I think you had Lucas like very high projected score.
Oh,
if you
yeah.
started the optimal lineup, but
Mhm.
yeah, didn't take place.
Well, I had Matthew Stafford, and that's a perfect segue into the very first game we saw in this NFL season. We saw the Rams get, I don't want to say embarrassed by the Bills, but they just didn't look good. You know, they played the game, I guess you could say that. Like the Bills.
I think embarrassed is a fine way to describe it.
Because it was like
they
the
were embarrassed. They
scoreline.
were for sure embarrassed by it. They were as the
Yeah,
defending
considering-
Super Bowl champions. Like it was an
Yeah.
embarrassing game. Like they were supposed to be good, and they looked more how they looked at the beginning of last season when you were saying that you wanted that they were going to win, and I was like, they look terrible.
All of their strengths from last year look like weaknesses. I mean, Jalen Ramsey giving up everything. Just I could have caught a ball on him that day. You got Matthew Stafford looking like he really is injured, like this elbow thing.
He is really injured.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's the injury, if it's the play calling, if it's both. It can't really be the play calling. I mean, we got
I
genius
saw
there.
a really interesting stat. I forget who posted it, but it was like the Rams were in 11 personnel for 100% of their plays, which 3 wideouts, tight end,
Right.
and running back. And anytime they've done that, they've lost every single game where they've been in 11 personnel exclusively.
Yeah, no, that's strange. And that counts in shotgun too, because you can have, a running back next year.
Yeah,
whatever.
mind you, I don't know what 11 personnel means, but I do know that the Rams are bad in it.
I unfortunately know too much about it because there was a year where the Giants exclusively ran 11 personnel. I think it was 90% of the time. It was
There's like 2 tight ends.
yeah.
It just means you have more of an offensive line. You're going to have less receivers.
Wait, no, it's 1 tight end. So
Yeah,
it's one
one
tight
tight
end,
end,
1
3
running back,
wideouts.
3 wideouts. Yeah. So it's not a great. Oh, I get why they do it. They want to put their best players on the field. That's the argument that every coach uses. It's like, okay, we get our running back, we get our tight end. Higbee's pretty decent. Okay, you put him in there, and then
What do they call it? What's the name when they put, like, I thought that's what they called
That's wing. I don't know when you have 2 tight ends.
That's 12 personnel because the first number is the running backs, and then the
tight
second
end.
number is tight ends.
Oh, yeah,
and then
that's
you
right.
assume the rest is receivers.
Because I remember it more of because I'm like when it's like that's what it was 12 man, like when they're like 12 personnel. I think of it as when you have the extra tight end because they're beefing up the line, so it's like having an extra fucking player. That's why I got you.
Yeah. So 13 would be like a goal line type of thing where they go 3 tight
Yeah.
ends. Yeah.
And 14's just a number.
Well, I guess you can have like the wing. They don't really do that in the NFL. That's more of a college thing. But yeah, man, they didn't look very good. Are you concerned about the Rams? I am.
I'm really not concerned about them because they are who I thought they were like last year. That's what they seemed to me, and then they hit a stride and they went and won the Super Bowl. Good job, good on them. But that's what I see the Rams as. That's what I saw them as at the beginning of last season. Even though they went and got Matthew Stafford, I do not respect the Rams.
Interesting. I respect the Rams because I saw what they did to the Cardinals last year.
Jesus Christ.
and what every team's going to do to the Cardinals this year. However, I'm definitely concerned. As you pointed out, like their offensive line was awful. Von Miller, 2 sacks, and everyone was on every single play for the Bills. And then defensively, they do not have the personnel to keep up with whoever the Bills are running out there. It really didn't matter. I mean, they had 3 turnovers in the first half, right? And they didn't capitalize on any of that as a tie game going to halftime. So, yeah, I am sounding red flags.
You're right. They lack that explosive firepower on offense. I mean, they got good plays out of Cooper Kupp, but it became so obvious that they're going to continue throwing the Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, they suck as a football team.
A-Rob, I forgot how much of a whiff he had. You know, we thought Aaron Rodgers okay. You know, new team, fresh start. It wasn't targeted much. I don't know if that means he.
Maybe Mitch Trubisky is good. No, not according to Sunday.
He did beat the other Super Bowl.
Allen Robinson could not get open to save his life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't think the Rams are that great of a team. I think that we'll see better football out of them this season. Like that was probably they also played one of the best teams in the NFL. Like it wasn't like it wasn't like they played Carolina and and had this kind of showing. They'll win some games, but I think that that's more of a reality check of like what it was. I would go as far as to say it was like a Giants-esque year for them last year where they just the right things all clicked at the right time and they went and won a Super Bowl.
My one counter, they won the division. They did. They won the NFC West, and there were 3 playoff teams out of the NFC West. So they were very good for the whole season. The only difference primarily being they caught fire come postseason, especially Cooper Kupp.
Which is weird because they caught fire and then they lose to the Niners like the last game of the season, and then they catch fire again. Very weird, but what is it? Whatever. From a fantasy standpoint, do you think Cam Akers is useless now? Yeah. I mean, he was selected fairly high. We're not talking top 3 rounds, but you had people kind of reaching in the 4th, the 5th. I don't trust the Rams as a fantasy option other than Cooper Kupp until they prove to me that they can do it. And I think that's fine. Cam Akers, I think, put up 0 points for fantasy football. He had like 3 touches or something like that. It was very little. I had a feeling coming in that Darrell Henderson was going to be like the main guy to get the ball, and he was.
ADP number 28, RB 15.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is I was pretty sure that he was in the top. I thought he was a 2nd round pick, but I want to verify he was a 3rd round.
That's
beginning
crazy.
of the 3rd round.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be a good running back on what's supposed to be a good team, but I think that Achilles, unlike Robinson in Jacksonville, who showed like, did he have an Achilles as well? I don't know if it was.
But the interesting part is when Cam Akers came back for the playoff run, he looked fairly good, and I think that's why everyone was drafting him high. Is he's like, he's clearly capitalized on the playoff performance. He's going to parlay that into the starting job on a Rams offense that schemes great and has Cooper Kupp and has offensive weapons. The problem is they don't have an offensive line, so if you can't block, you're not going to run the ball well.
So they lose Whitworth, right? That's like kind of the big loss, which you think, whatever, you can replace a 40-year-old. Actually, you can't. And, overall, I guess just regression, right? Because they didn't replace anybody else on that offensive line.
Want to talk about another team that's regressing real quick?
Yeah,
we got 2 of them sitting on this podcast, and unfortunately, one of them won this week. Who was not bound for regression. Cardinals sucked.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Cardinals Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
Not to add insult to injury and just
44-21.
really rub it in. Now I've pulled it up. I'm trying to see.
I want to see the quarter by quarter scoring because I think at some point it was
21-3 at half.
No, it was never a game.
No, it wasn't. They scored on the opening drives. We came back, I think it was 21-7 was the first time we scored. Regardless, Patrick Mahomes, 5 touchdowns, over 70% completion, 360 yards. That's insane. Cardinals couldn't cover anything. They couldn't. They looked awful.
So what you were saying all along, the secondary, you're fucking shit in the bed, worried about them. They let you down.
We didn't have a pass rush.
Yeah.
And our offense looks bad. We put up 14 garbage time points.
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as the offense goes, you guys are just going to, until you get one of the best receivers in football back, you're pretty screwed.
Yeah, we knew that.
And then the defense didn't look good, but I will say you guys did play the Rams played either the first or second best team in the AFC, and if they're not the first or second, the Chiefs are the other one. They're the first or second best team.
Yeah.
In the AFC, maybe in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't disagree. At the same time, I feel great because I was right. So
Wow.
I'll take the W there.
How did James Conner look?
Bad. I mean, he punched in a touchdown, but it doesn't matter when you get blown out like this. The whole team played poorly, right?
Yeah, and it wasn't. And again, the 14 points that were in the final quarter. I mean, it was already what 27 or 37-7.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it was a bad score. I stopped watching it at halftime. There's no point to watch the game. It was a bad game. Why am I going to watch the Cardinals continue to get dredged by the Chiefs? And one more thing on the Chiefs, it's not like they had one 4-play drive, right? One 75-yard 4-play drive. Other than that, everything was 6 to 11 plays. Like, they were very much so driving the ball downfield consistently.
Yeah.
Not always going for the big home run shot.
It was pretty bad. We'll talk about what you think about the rest of the season when we talk about next week's game. When we talk about next week's game, we also have
fantasy implications. Just had to point this out. Isaiah Pacheco out-touched Edwards-Helaire 12 carries to 7.
Edwards-Helaire had 2 receiving touchdowns.
Right, and he was fairly efficient. I mean, averaging 6 yards a carry. Not quite as high as Saquon, but we'll talk about that later. Yeah, Cardinals, I mean, obviously you're waiting on the Hopkins to come back. You think Kyler is still like a decent fantasy quarterback? He still, can make plays with his legs.
I like Kyler Murray a lot. I think it's good that they paid him money. I don't think the Cardinals are a good football team this season. I know it's the Chiefs. I think and by good football team, I mean we're going to have regression from last year's record. That's it, plain and simple. We're not going to be as good as we were last year. We lost important personnel across the board on the defensive end. Our offensive line is okay, right? Like, we extended Rodney Hudson, fine. But not having DeAndre Hopkins, I wouldn't trust Kyler Murray until DeAndre Hopkins gets back. That's what I'd do for fantasy.
Yeah, but when you pay somebody that much money, like you paid him, it's like the same argument to me as Dak, but Dak gets it worse because he's the Cowboys quarterback, as other teams' quarterbacks. I don't feel like get it as bad. Where it's like he was paid the type of money where it doesn't matter what receivers he has, he's supposed to go out and perform.
I 100% agree on that. I think the difference is Dak Prescott actually studies film tape, so. Okay. When you pay someone money to perform and they're educated, you expect them to perform well.
What they should have done was they should have put a clause in the contract that says, listen, on this contract, if you get blown out by 20 or more points on your first game, then the clause comes into effect where you have to study.
Did you guys see that crazy conspiracy where it was like Kyler Murray averages like 7 points less when the certain Call of Duty game comes out?
I saw that as like a double XP point weekend, and Kyler Murray sucks. And it's like, why does he have the same stats as a 13-year-old school shooter? That shouldn't be equivocated.
All right, we had Giants-Titans. The Giants squeaked out a win. I went ahead because I watched all the highlights of the games that I didn't see today. Mm-hmm. And so I had kind of more of like the narratives that you would hear that I would hear people more social media narratives that you would see people see little fucking the Giants fans celebrating. That was the Giants were still very bad in that game.
Yeah.
The Giants,
we weren't great. We made the right plays when we had to. We went for 2, which was very ballsy, which, hey, I love it. It's a regime change. This reminded me a lot of a game when we played last year against, or it might have been 2 years ago, against the Redskins. And Ron Rivera, it was his first season. We were playing against them. Similar situation. I think 5 seconds left. They go for 2 to win the game instead of 1 to tie it. And, he's just being Riverboat Ron. And I'm like, fuck, man. I'm shitting bricks because I'm like, I don't want to lose this game. We did end up winning. But I was like, damn, that's pretty ballsy of him. Like, I like a coach that has that type of confidence in his players. And we just so happen to have that in Brian Daboll. So shout out to Daboll. I don't see the same kind of confidence with the Cowboys, and here's my hot take.
This has nothing to do with the Cowboys.
I know, but I want to get this out there. I think Mike McCarthy fired mid-season. Easy. I see it.
Right. Well, we'll talk about that when we
Yeah,
talk about the
we'll
Cowboys.
talk about that, but I just want to get out there. Anyways,
Question on the Giants: how many games do you think they can win with Daniel Jones as their quarterback?
between 7 and 10.
Okay.
Yeah, and I do think 10 is very realistic. I mean, after what I saw, listen, I was telling this to Gabe on the way here. If the Giants could be like a slightly shittier version of what the Titans were last year, just a team that runs the ball very well. They make plays when they have to make plays. They have
Ryan
one big play
far
receiver.
better quarterback. Ryan Tannehill's a far
I
better
don't know about
quarterback.
far better. I mean, you're
Far.
talking about a guy who threw 3 interceptions in the most important game of his career. So I don't know about a way.
You're talking
better
about a guy
quarterback.
who's never had an important
Yeah.
game in his career.
Yeah.
Hey, well, this could be the year that he actually makes the playoffs.
no.
The
Daniel
Titans
Jones is-
were the number 1 AFC seed last year.
Daniel Jones is bad at football. We
Yeah.
can't. We can't. Come on, man.
Yeah. And also, side note, remember what the Cardinals did to the Titans last year when they were a good football team in Week 1? We blew the doors off of them.
Yeah,
did.
I mean, they
The
do
Titans
bounce
are-
back strong. They're
Titans-
very well coached.
Titans are a bad football team this year. They just are. They have a good defensive line, but
I don't
that's
know,
about
man.
it.
They're a very early, it's very early to say that.
They didn't throw the football.
I mean, they thought Derrick Henry was going to be enough. Clearly wasn't. They can't throw the ball like they did last year. They have Robert Woods now. They don't have A.J. Brown. They can't just, it's a completely different offense.
Yeah.
I think it's a obviously as a Giants fan, you got to be stoked. You got to fucking win.
Ecstatic.
It's like I said, I'm not surprised you guys won. It was still the Titans,
Eh.
and it's
Honestly?
because there was much more positivity coming from you and Dwayne in the chat, and I hadn't seen it. And then when I saw it, I was like, oh, I wouldn't. The only exciting thing about that game was that Saquon looked like Saquon.
Yeah, but if you go back and watch it in real time, it was just a different experience because the types of plays we were making, we wouldn't make those type of plays. We lose all those
You know
games
what?
so many times.
I understand where you're coming from with that as a Cowboys fan, for going from Jason Garrett to Mike McCarthy. Although there's those issues now, but there was. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Where it's more speaks to how low you were than to it being high now. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Brian Dable cares, and that's really what. I didn't think Joe Judge cared enough to chew out Daniel Jones when he made a mistake, and Dable does care that amount.
I love seeing that, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, he wants this team to win football games, and I think that, as a Giants fan, has to be the best part of watching what happened on Sunday.
The whole thing overall just got me emotional, dude. Like, when I just saw them win, I couldn't believe it. And then the announcer was like, this is the first time they've won an opening game in 6 years. Like, I got a couple of tears in my eyes. I was like, wow, this is crazy.
And then then you started sounding like you're a fucking average Dallas Cowboys fan. You're like, we can win it all now.
I don't know about win it all, but hey, our playoff chances look
10
better.
wins, get out.
10
wins is you're not
in
going to
this
be close.
division.
Not going to be close to 10 wins.
Everyone in this division
Is going to eat each other, so that
Almost lost.
no one's gonna run away with this division.
Eagles, Commanders, Boys, Giants.
We'll see. Eagles, Commanders, Boys, Giants. You
Yeah.
still have the Giants at last?
Well, let's talk about the Cowboys. See,
Okay, yeah,
see
let's talk
what
about the
general
Cowboys.
sentiment is
Yeah.
on them. With Dak Prescott, thumb injury, getting. I don't want to
Gonna
say
be
the
out 4 to
doors
7
blown off.
weeks.
Yeah, and it was still only a 16-point game, but that was probably the worst 16-point game I've seen
Well,
in recent memory.
It's not really getting the doors blown off, but that's only because the defense held them to all those field goals.
Yeah.
1 or 2 more touchdowns, and that game is insanely out of hand. Yeah, man, they didn't look good. Dak threw some bad balls before his hand was hurt, but also he always throws bad footballs. Like, he's known for, like, he throws a few bad balls every single game, but the balls that he was putting where they needed to be were literally going through receivers' hands like they're playing in high school. It reminded me of a few years ago when we went and picked up Amari Cooper in the middle of the season because we had no receivers that could catch the ball. CeeDee Lamb came out, had a great catch off the top. Like, it was like, okay, this is what it's gonna. That's what it's gonna be. It was in the first drive. It might have even gotten called back, but it was a good catch. It was like, okay, that's it. We're good. We're gonna be fine. And then from there, the receivers fell apart. they didn't feed Zeke enough because Zeke was getting 5 to 6 yards a carry for the few carries that he did get. The defense looks great.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's your like one, kind of silver lining. The defense was looking very good. Micah Parsons, dude.
Yeah, even without Randy Gregory, just having Micah Parsons is honestly enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. The defensive front is awesome. I was really happy with the way Diggs played as well. He covered very well. I mean, he gave up a few balls.
Besides that, fade that he gave up to Mike Evans is.
But it's also Tom Brady and Mike Evans that you're giving that up to. So if he's giving that up to Baker or Jacoby Brissett or somebody like that, then that's one thing. Geno Smith, that's one thing. But giving it up to Tom Brady, it kind of is what it is.
It was still a crazy catch by Mike Evans too.
Yeah. It was one-handed, right? Then he pulled it in
back at the
two.
end zone.
Yeah, that was nuts.
But this is gonna be a long season. Where this is gonna be probably the worst Cowboys team since when Romo got knocked out the year before Dak and Zeke came in the league.
Who replaced him when he got knocked out?
That was Matt Castle. That was the year where they had like Matt Castle and then and other quarterback. Like it was like he came in and was atrocious, and then I forget who else. They started a couple other quarterbacks. But
who did you ask me this question earlier? How many, or is that him? How many games do you think will win with Daniel Jones?
That was me.
That was you. How many games do you think will win with Cooper Rush?
8.
Well, he's already. I mean, right now he's 100% win percentage. That's what
100% lose percent. Oh, because he came in and he wasn't started.
Yeah, he wasn't the starter in that game. That doesn't count. But last year against the Vikings, he got it. He handled it. He took care of business. I mean, man, with the way the defense played, if he let's say if he has a little bit of better chemistry with these receivers, I think it's possible to go out there for him to go out and win a couple of games. But
are we gonna have 2 Titans lights in the NFC East? The bottom of the NFC East?
Titans lights.
But they're not a.
You guys are the Sierra Mist Zero of the conference.
It's terrible. They're just it's not fun. This isn't fun. This is week 1. This is supposed to be inspiring and supposed to be fun. And
I don't know what you're talking about, dog. I'm fucking inspired. We got.
Yeah, but see, that's because you've already reached the bottom. I'm falling from the middle. I'm still falling from the middle.
Yeah, sure. You know what? The expectations are way too high for you guys this year. Even though like they're not as high as they probably were last year, they're still high because you're the Cowboys.
Yeah, they're
high
no matter what.
Falling under the pressure.
The Cowboys could literally have all the players could die in a plane crash and they'd be like, they're going to win the Super Bowl.
This right now is the 2008 housing crisis just bestowed upon the Dallas Cowboys.
It's a big bubble.
Yep. Yeah. And it's popping.
Oh, it's terrible. This isn't going to be a fun season for the Dallas Cowboys. This is going to be a bad one. I almost hope that they do not tank on purpose, but that the season truly does tank, and they because it'll be worse to hang around and win games with Cooper Rush than Dak comes back and just hang around and then miss the playoffs.
Yeah, I think it's a better, higher draft pick.
Yeah.
How many games before Mike McCarthy gets fired?
Well, if you have I think it's very hard to fire him while he has the backup quarterback. I don't necessarily think that he's going to get fired mid-season.
I don't know, man. I think you renewed Dan Quinn. You put Mike McCarthy on notice, which.
So then, who's going to be the coach?
Dan Quinn.
So how's that going to help your offense?
I mean, I think it'll be more of a culture change type of thing. Jerry Jones is the kind of guy to do these types of things. Look. It's okay. We don't have to talk about it now, but look back at this podcast, halfway through the season.
Jerry Jones is very loyal. He held on to Jason Garrett for like 8 seasons longer.
Man, I can't believe he held on to Jason Garrett for that long, dude.
I don't know.
And the only reason that he fired Wade Phillips mid-season like he did was because of Jason. Was it Wade that he fired for Jason Garrett?
I think so.
I believe so. It was that's how long Jason Garrett was the coach. It was that long ago. But I think it was because he knew he was already going to make Jason Garrett the coach. If the team is playing like this, and you fire Mike McCarthy, you're not going to because I think the idea was maybe Kellen Moore would become the coach eventually, right? Another Jason Garrett, like Jerry Jones likes that loyalty. He likes to be like, we brought you up. You were a quarterback for this team. Now you're a coach. Now you're like an offensive coordinator. Now you're going to be the coach. But I don't think you can't do that, especially when you did it once and it didn't work. That's literally the Jason Garrett.
Well, Jason Garrett, I mean, we all know he's an atrocious coach, but when he was playing, he was littered with talent. Like, just the best offensive line probably in the NFL at the time. You had Zeke fucking averaging 7 yards a carry like it was nothing. You had everything going well for you, so it was very hard to, like, argue firing him.
Yeah, I just don't think. I mean, it's not even about firing Jason Garrett midseason. What I'm talking about is you're not going to make. If you made Kellen Moore the coach, it's literally doing a Jason Garrett 2.0.
But I don't think you'd make him the coach. I think you'd make Dan Quinn. I mean, Dan Quinn, his defense is standing
work like
out
that,
right now.
Luke, it doesn't work like they don't just sit in a room and go like, well, they're losing. Let's just fire him. Like they have like a plan. They're like, well, we're gonna get him out of here because this idea is bad. And we're gonna push new ideas forward. If you fire him, the offense is not like when you fired Wade Phillips, the defensive coach. Now we put the offensive coach like in charge, putting the defensive coach like the defense is already good. What do we
right? That's why I think he would win because you look and you're like, what's your best coach? Then you promote him. It's like you fire someone, you promote the best person.
But 2 years ago, that would have been Kellen Moore, and the year before that, someone different. Like I understand the argument, but at the same time, there's a reason why Dan Quinn is a DC and no longer the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, he came from being a head coach to being a DC and made this team's defense really good. Why fuck with the one good thing you have by giving that guy more on his plate? Like let him eat what he's got and fucking keep a good defense. I just don't think. I think that it's too much of a chess move when they do this, but the public sees it as like lose games, bad, fired. When it's like it's way deeper than that. Like that's why there's some coaches that have terrible fucking seasons and never get fired.
Just remember this. Just remember this moment when it happens. I think week 9, week 10, see where they are.
The main issue is that we never go back and do. What I need to do is go back and edit this together and make it like a reel or a TikTok for you.
Yeah,
that's to shame you.
Look, if by week 10 you guys are 9-1, and
that's not gonna happen.
Mike McCarthy has all the job security in the world, great. I'll take the L. But I have a feeling he's not going to be there at the end of the season. I think
what does that count? What does the end of the season count? You're saying he's not going to be the head coach the last game of the season?
Yeah, no, even before that. I think somewhere between weeks 10 and 14, he'll get fired.
I would have agreed with you, but they have a backup quarterback.
I think he's going to get a couple games with Dak back and be like, all right, look, show me what you got. This is your fucking last.
But it's like that's like if you did that with Russell Wilson last year. Russell Wilson came back from the same injury last year and wasn't that good.
Yeah,
like he needed more time to heal. You can't put that on the coach.
So you think they're going to rush him back?
Yeah. They said they're not putting him on. They're not putting him on IR to miss 6 weeks because they think he might be able to come back in 4 weeks. Of course they're going to rush him back. This is a fucking $1 billion business.
Yeah.
Like they're going to rush him back for sure. They truly believe that they have a team that can go win the Super Bowl if they have Dak as the quarterback.
And you can with how wide open the NFC is this year.
Yeah, you get you. I mean,
we say that about the NFC every year.
No. The NFC. Well, it may be, but the NFC has been wide open this year. Do the Packers look good? Do the Niners look good?
But that's one game because the Packers didn't look good after one game last year.
Yeah.
They also don't have the same. They also have less talent.
No Devontae Adams this season. So I mean, there is a lot wide open. Even the Buccaneers didn't look great.
No.
Yeah, no. I mean, what team really looked? Because even though Buffalo looked dominant, Josh Allen still threw 2 or 3 interceptions in the first half. 2 interceptions, I think, right, and 1 forced fumble.
Well, the Chiefs look great.
Buffalo and Kansas City both look great.
Yeah.
Regardless of turnovers or not, they look fucking.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see Buffalo.
No.
Nobody wants Josh Allen in their house.
You could argue the Ravens look great, but they're playing the Jets.
And they didn't look great.
Steelers Bengals. That was an interesting game.
That was a very fun game. Both teams looked awful. Joe Burrow. Once T.J. Watt got hurt, that's when the Bengals made a comeback. Joe Burrow got sacked 7 times, 4 picks, a fumble.
This was more reminiscent of his rookie season when he was just running for his life. first throw was an interception.
Yeah.
First pass he
think
threw
so.
this season was a pick six. And yeah, he did not look good. He did, however, come to life after TJ Watt was out. So hopefully they can shore up their offensive line. The Steelers stole a win.
Yeah. It's not like they could move the ball. I mean, they needed a defensive touchdown and 5 takeaways to even make it to overtime. And then from there, Evan McPherson, a missed extra point at the end of regulation, a missed field goal, a doink from Chris Boswell, and finally the Steelers pull it out. But boy, oh boy, was that a sloppy, fun first game.
Kickers really sucked this weekend, dude. One of them sucked so bad he got cut. Rodrigo Blankenship.
Yeah, the nerd from Indy.
Yeah, with the fucking goggles.
They call him the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar of football.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's terrible. Because
They
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is like the top scorer in NBA history, and this guy, although it might have been on his way had it not been for all these fucking shanked field goals.
I know.
Yeah, because they always end up being kickers that, are the highest scoring because they just go out there, they do their thing.
But I mean, the Steelers. I mean, they're the Steelers. They're gonna be they'll be probably up and down all season.
Well, yeah, it's really a TBD with TJ Watt out. TJ Watt has won them football games, and without him, this might be the first season Mike Tomlin finishes under 500. But who knows?
We say that about Mike Tomlin every year. Last year was the year where you're like, no, there's no way. And somehow he pulled out.
Oh, you saw Big Ben
all these
and
wins.
As though Big Ben, even though Big Ben,
It was garbage.
wasn't very mobile, couldn't throw the ball downfield. He was still a good enough quarterback to he was still a good enough game manager to win games.
Yeah, and do not overlook Defensive Player of the Year, TJ Watt from last season, who won them football games single-handedly.
Yeah.
So with him out, 10+ weeks with a torn pec, the steel curtain no more.
Wait, 10 weeks? I thought he was out the whole season.
No.
They say potentially 10 weeks. It could be the full season.
Damn, the last time I saw someone tear a pec, which was ironic.
His brother.
Yeah, JJ Watt.
Yeah.
They got weak chests because they have beautiful chests.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of time looking at
looks.
them?
They're for looks.
I mean, come on, dude. The guy, JJ Watt, he weighs like 290 pounds as an 8-pack. How fucking crazy is that? Of course I've seen his fucking pecs. Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger or TJ Watt? Who are you taking?
Like a young Arnold?
Sure.
Just in a physique
No,
contest?
I'm taking. Oh, in the physique contest?
No. Just taking in general.
Oh,
if you had to go to prom with
JJ.
one of them. Okay.
JJ, yeah, because I mean,
Because you'll get Gatorade at the end of the night.
No, if someone tries to molest me, I mean, someone has actual translatable, skills and strength. The other guy just looks good,
What
Maybe
are you Conan the Barbarian, the Terminator,
yeah, I mean,
kindergarten cop. He knows what it's like to be scared in school. He's got you.
Does he do his own stunts? I don't know, dude.
Do you guys think that the Bengals?
I'm still buying Bengals stock. I'm still investing in the Bengals.
Absolutely, yeah, they're still there. I mean, they lost by a field goal. It's not like it was a blowout or anything. Division rivals, they play each other tough.
Yeah, I think they'll still be a playoff team. I'm just not. I expected them to come out and play a little hotter, but it is like you said, it is a division game. The last game from last week that we'll talk about is Seahawks Broncos. Russell Wilson played his old team in his first game back. It's kind of funny how those things seem to happen. And the Seahawks squeaked out a win. This is just a weird narrative, I feel like, that I've heard like so many like anti-Russ narratives and so many pro Seahawks narratives as far as like, oh, Russ, they're in trouble, and that the Seahawks are, Geno Smith like might actually be like a good quarterback. And again, watching it back, I was like, they gave the game away with turnovers like on the goal line.
Yeah.
If without those turnovers on the goal line, we're talking about they win by like 2 touchdowns. Russell Wilson looked great in the game, and Geno Smith had like a few things bounced his way. That's what I saw. What'd you guys think of the game?
I saw an improved Geno Smith. I'm not going to call him like a starter in this league because he barely squeaked out a start over who is on his way to becoming a journeyman. Drew Lock, not the greatest quarterback out there. Ironic because apparently, this is a rumor, this might not be true, the Giants were trying to like trade for Russell Wilson, and they were like, yeah, we'd prefer Drew Lock in exchange over Daniel Jones, which is funny because if you really did prefer his quarterback, then why is he not starting? But whatever. I don't know. A lot of things did have to bounce their way, like those 2 fumbles. Seattle, their defense is looking pretty good. I mean, Jamal Adams just got hurt. He might need surgery. It's not looking great for them. They're in arguably the toughest division. You know, the AFC and NFC West are both looking extremely tough. So I don't see them anywhere close to even being a wild card team at this point. They're almost kind of irrelevant. The Broncos, I thought, like you guys said, outside of those 2 fumbles, great. This is what you want. You want a guy that's not only going to feed these talented receivers, but distribute the ball. I mean, I think a lot of people were fed. That dude, 83, just looking like a monster tight end. What was his name?
Beck.
Shout out to Beck, dude. At first, I thought it was like young Wes Welker, with that 83, but actually, no, just a much bigger, buffer dude making one-handed catches as a backup tight end. What the fuck is happening? Like, can't sleep on him.
My big takeaway from that game is Nathaniel Hackett is going to lose games for the Broncos with clock mismanagement. Very reminiscent of Cliff Kingsbury coming in as a rookie head coach, not knowing how to manage the clock and call plays correctly, and then not trusting your quarterback.
Yeah, you pay that much money for Russ, you got to let him throw the ball at 4th or 5.
Let Russ cook.
Yeah, let him lose the game for you, not the kicker. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because then
so
you
crazy.
can blame it on the quarterback and be like, he's crazy. Do you guys see what he does pregame? He like praises God and then does fake throws for an hour. It's his fault. He wasted all that energy on that.
100%.
McManus is not a bad kicker. He's got a fucking leg, but come on, dude. We're talking about an all-pro quarterback. We're talking about a guy who has a track record of winning important games and going to a Super Bowl. Like, how could you not trust someone like that on 4th and 5?
Because it's Russell Wilson. No, you have to. I agree. You have to you put the ball in his hands.
Okay, so those are our games. We have two more kind of topics, little storylines to cover. They both have to deal with NFL quarterbacks. First, we'll go with Aaron Rodgers. They played terribly. They got beat by the Vikings. They didn't look good. Like, it's not even that Aaron Rodgers himself didn't look good. It's the receivers did not look good.
A.J. Dillon's going to be massive for them if they do end up making a playoff push.
For sure. Which, by the way, I just found out he's Jewish.
A.J. Dillon?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, dude.
He's too strong to be Jewish. I don't believe
right?
it.
That's what I thought, man.
God,
Him and Adam Scheffner I listened to the podcast. Shout out Adam. They were having like a little,
Are we talking
buddy
Jewish
Jew
in
moment.
the same way Jerry Jeudy identifies as Jewish, where he just wears the chain because people call him Jew?
Judy.
He said that at his combine.
Jewdy.
Yeah.
Judy.
They just call him Jew. So no joke, he wears a huge Jewish Star of David.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Damn,
This is why I like Jerry Jeudy, by the way. He fucking reps us with pride.
That's pretty funny.
I didn't know AJ Dillon. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think AJ Dillon's gonna be massive for them.
I think it's really funny how, to top it off on their first of all, Devontae Adams had more receiving yards for the Raiders than the entire Packers receivers had receiving yards.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
And then Aaron Rodgers after the game is like, "Oh yeah, Justin Jefferson's the best player in the league." Bold statement. Not just best receiver, best player in the league.
He might be
crazy.
After that,
He might be. Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers looks like shit. Did you guys see? He looks awful now. In all the post-game press conferences, he looks disgusting.
Like facial expression or
He just
Like
looks
he's
so old.
Aging. He's aging and he's got that long hair.
Yeah, he looks awful.
yeah. I mean, Brady though. He aged like fine wine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he aged like plastic surgery is what he aged like.
Yeah, but I'm sure if he like grew out his a scruffy beard and grew his hair long, he'd look weird too. I think if Aaron Rodgers cleaned up a little bit, he'd probably be fine.
I'm surprised they're not homies. Like, obviously they play against each other, but and they're in the NFC. But you would think, hey, what's up, Tom?
Pretty sure Aaron
how do
Rodgers
you stay
is
so young?
hard to get
Teaching
along
about
with.
plyometrics, You
Aaron
think
Rodgers
Aaron Rodgers hard to get along with?
Definitely ayahuasca, Tom Brady, biogenesis. That's the difference between them.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, Tom Brady could do ecstasy while he does acid. They'll have a good time.
So do you guys do you think that the Packers are a bad football team this year? Are going to be a bad football team this year, or do you think that you're going to figure it out?
No, defensively, they're way too talented to be a bad football team. And on the offensive side, you have A-Rod. That's all you need. Do you need to rely on the run more? Of course. Do you need to do you need to pretend like you don't need to rely on the run? Of course. So, throw to the receivers. They'll get better as the season goes along. This is why preseason is bullshit, because these receivers are playing against second, third, fourth string corners that weren't probably not going to make the team or even be in the NFL.
Yeah, but everybody's been saying that these receivers have been bad since the beginning of camp. It's not like the receivers and everything looked good in the preseason and then now we're finding out they're bad. I mean, it's just consistently been bad.
Yeah, Watson dropping the wide open touchdown on the first drive. I still think the Packers are going to figure it out. After this week, though, I mean, schematically, why not have Jair Alexander just blanket Justin Jefferson? No, they didn't do that. Regardless, bigger questions. I'd still trust Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur to win football games. They seem to have a winning combination, so I'm not worried about the Packers.
Baker Mayfield, that's our other topic. He lost. It's not the Panthers lost. He lost against the Cleveland Browns, who, are a bad football team as well.
One name.
I don't know, man. They made the playoffs last year. They technically got better.
What?
Yeah,
They
the
did.
Browns. Yeah,
They did not get better.
What are you talking about?
the Browns.
They did not. They have Jacoby Brissett starting 11 football games.
Right, but after that, I mean, they didn't have a crazy good quarterback last year either. They downgraded at quarterback, at receiver.
Downgrade from Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry to Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones, who was on their roster last year. Downgrade.
They weren't doing much when they were there.
Well,
Nick
Baker.
Chubb?
Okay.
This was always this was like
not
the
Amari.
Titans. Run the ball, and then good defense. That's their formula. Defensively, I don't think much was added or lost. It's kind of the same, which again was enough to get them into the playoffs. So I wouldn't just call them a bad team.
They're worse than last year, though. I don't even think that's in the realm of
It's
possibility.
but did you watch them play?
Yeah, they were very bad.
Yeah, but what are the Panthers?
Awful.
Another bad football team. They're just two bad teams played themselves.
So they played down to. So the Browns played down to the Panthers level.
No, the Browns played the Browns level, which is
Yes.
bad football,
Yes.
especially without the quarter. Will they be better with Watson? Yeah, they'll be better, but it's remember how many games
Jacoby Brissett last year in Miami, I think this goes to Kenny's point,
Sure.
was awful. Tua comes in and goes 7-4 with that roster. Jacoby Brissett lost them more football games than he won as a backup quarterback, right? As the starter originally. So they went to Tua.
But defensively, they're still good.
I don't disagree with that, but I'm just saying they're a worse team than they were last year, and they don't have an offense because they don't have a quarterback. Full stop.
and they're not that good.
Yeah.
The defense they're not like an elite defense where it's we're going to keep this to a low scoring game against good teams so that it's just the defense I would say the defense isn't like a dumpster fire. The defense isn't a liability. That's the best of it.
They have a true game breaker in Myles Garrett. They do.
They've got a great number one corner in Denzel
Ward.
Ward.
I like Denzel Ward a lot. Yeah.
I mean, they've got great players at every defensive position. So
Yeah, but playing together, they're not. We'll say they're going to play good. The season will play out, but they're just they're pretty. They looked very bad.
I think it's unfair to call them a bad team if they were a playoff team last year and this year, even though
the Dallas Cowboys are the Dallas Cowboys not a bad football team?
Oh yeah, of course they are.
Then what are you talking about? The Dallas Cowboys.
You take Jacoby
it's the
Brissett
same
over
thing.
Cooper Rush.
No, I don't. I
Maybe.
wouldn't. It's the same shit to me. They're not. Jacoby Brissett sucks at football.
They're both bad. Yeah.
Brissett is just He's riding off of being the Colts quarterback, 4 years ago, and having a couple good games?
Yeah, and the Patriots backup behind the backup under Jimmy G, right, when Tom Brady was suspended 4 games for Deflategate.
Right, but he didn't even have to play then, right?
He started 1 game, but again, the point stands. Jacoby Brissett is coasting off of having an okay season in Indy, but an okay season where they decided they had to upgrade, and they picked Carson Wentz as the upgrade.
Another bad quarterback.
Although you wouldn't know it based on Sunday. Regardless.
Oh, you would know it because his interceptions were terrible.
Because
that's like Josh Allen. Josh Allen didn't throw interceptions where, yeah, you would watch him make a good, you would watch Josh Allen make an amazing play, and then when he threw an interception, it didn't seem as though he didn't know how to play football.
Yeah, that Carson Wentz tried to give the game back, and then Trevor Lawrence was like, "No, you take it."
Yeah, they were playing hot potato with the football.
I think it's crazy how a team was like, we want to trade for Carson Wentz. We want to give up assets for Carson Wentz.
Yeah, and a team gave up not a lot of assets for Baker Mayfield. And I think going back to the Panthers-Browns game, the Browns are a bad football team this season. The Panthers are a worse football team this season. Christian McCaffrey couldn't get going. Baker Mayfield had 1 good throw to Robbie Anderson. Cade York game-winning field goal. Do I read anything into this game? No. I don't think the Panthers are going to do anything, and I think Baker is going to lose a lot of football games.
Yeah, both those teams are going to be pretty bad and not win very many games this year, just like the Dallas Cowboys.
Do you guys have the Saints or the Bucks winning the South?
Bucks, as long as Tom Brady's on the roster.
Yeah.
Wow, so no faith in the Saints, even though they pulled out a win and looked pretty good.
I'm the one that said the Saints are going to make the playoffs over the Cardinals this year.
Oh, okay. So you think they're a wild card, like first, second?
Yeah, one of the 3.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't think the Saints didn't play amazing either. Just because they squeaked out a win, you know what I mean? Again, it was just these are games where they're playing bad. Not bottom half of the league teams are playing each other.
Yeah,
and somebody's got to win. And you're going to look better against those teams as it is. That's really it for week 1 from us. We have some sound bites from Dwayne to play, so we'll play the sound bites. And then if there's something to say, I think some of them are just real statements. We'll get his thoughts on some of this weekend, and then maybe a couple we'll have something to rebut with it or give some feedback.
How about those Giants? Oh, yeah. That's what I like to see. We are on our way to winning the division.
Thank you.
Hot.
Thank you.
That was his first soundbite. Here's a follow-up.
In all seriousness, it did take us a little while to get started. I don't like how bad our offense has been looking to start games. You can definitely tell it's the first year in this system. But credit to Coach Daboll. He made some adjustments that were really good at the half. Took the ball out of Daniel Jones' hands a little bit and put it more into Saquon's. And if that's a recipe for victory, then let's do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say that it's not that Daniel Jones has improved. It's that you guys have better coaching now.
Way better. For starters, we have competent coaching. That's a big
and healthy Saquon Barkley. That's big.
Thank God. Yeah,
really big.
Yeah, he looked in his old form. Here's another one from Dwayne.
And I feel good about our team. I really do like the energy we're playing with, and I can see the buy-in on the field definitely way more than what I could see when Joe Judge was coaching us. But I got to hold off on saying that we're going to be the best team in the league. I still think there's a lot to build on our roster talent-wise. And, it is a good feeling for all of us fans of the Big Blue. I just think that we just need to give ourselves a little bit more time to sort of refine what we got going on here. But great start coming from the Giants.
I thought he was going to say, I can't say we're going to win the division, but he would say I'm going to say we're not the best team in the league.
So humble.
Which I think that goes without saying, Dwayne.
Gabe, I owe you an apology for sure. I came at you kind of hard about not believing in your Cardinals, but I watched that game against Kansas City on Sunday, man. You guys caught Patrick Mahomes on the wrong day, all right? He did not like those street ball comments that somebody made about him over the summer, and he really took it out on you guys. But as far as your defense goes, definitely not much of a rush without Chandler Jones. I mean, I know that Kansas City's offensive line is pretty strong, but you got to create some kind of pressure, and without Chandler Jones, you're just not going to do it at all. But you should give some credit to Marquise Brown because he's the only one that got in the end zone. So put some respect on my boy's name.
Okay, fine. I'll put respect. Hollywood, you did great in garbage time.
Wow, you still threw him under the bus a little bit there.
Damn.
I did hear that.
Better than speeding. At least he's on the road responsibly this time.
We've got a few more sound bites from Dwayne.
The Dallas Cowboys are the ones who are in some real trouble. I mean, I understand that Cooper Rush is a tough person to have in the game, but y'all didn't look good with Dak in there. It is not going to be a smooth ride for you this season. And now my man is hurt. Ooh-wee. I said this in the chat, but I really do mean it. I think that if you guys find yourselves in a top draft pick situation in the first round, top 10, something like that, based off your performance this season, there will be a new quarterback in Dallas. And I don't think that really makes Cowboys fans feel bad. I'm curious to see what Kenny would think if you guys were to be in the quarterback market, maybe get a Bryce Young or a CJ Stroud, because it really is looking like you guys are going to go down that road this season. I'm sorry.
I love how he ended with, I'm sorry.
He was so sincere with that. Sorry. I mean, anybody on the roster, it's what did you do for me this season? What do you look like you're going to do if Dak, is hurt, for 4 or 5 games, comes back, doesn't look good, we have the chance to go get a quarterback. I mean, I was ready to replace Tony Romo with Dak Prescott. I'm for sure ready to replace Dak Prescott. I still have never reached the level of adoration for Dak Prescott that I had for Tony Romo. You know what I mean? I believe in him. But I'm not like Romo. It was a sad thing, him not being the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. If Dak's gone as the Dallas Cowboys quarterback forever tomorrow, I mean, do I wish that he won a Super Bowl? I wish he did. I think Tony Romo deserved a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like if that makes any sense.
Yeah, Tony Romo's a much better career than Dak does to this point, for sure.
Yeah.
And so it's not that type of. I don't know. I just don't have the adoration is just not the same for Dak as it is for somebody like Tony Romo. It's also hard when you watching Trevor Lawrence, watching Justin Fields, watching Trey Lance, watching those young quarterbacks, and then being like, do we want to be in on that? But then you watch Josh Allen, watch Patrick Mahomes, there's one Justin Herbert, and those guys came in and are good. And they're all picked. All those guys were picked around the same draft picks too. It's not like they were. Some of those guys are third. Like Dak. At least if Dak doesn't make it, you're like, yeah, that was a 4th round quarterback that you squeezed this much out of. You know what I mean?
But those guys, it took them a while. I mean, Patrick Mahomes sat out an entire year behind Alex Smith. You had a lot of question marks around Josh Allen his first 2 years. Like, you're starting to kind of get it, but you're also like, I don't know if he's going to make it.
They did make the playoffs year 2 of Josh Allen's
tenure. Josh Allen was never in a Sam Darnold situation.
No. But
He's
first year was rough.
He's never in a Justin Fields. He's not even in a Justin Fields has played football. That's what I'm talking about. These guys that came out and they were supposed to be like they were. What was Josh Allen drafted? Like what?
He was drafted, I want to say he was top 5 for sure. Justin Herbert obviously had the most success, or the most early success than any of them. I think his second year he was balling out.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes won MVP his second year. Let's not.
You're right. Yeah.
And his second year is his first full year. So.
Yeah. Yeah, he really took the league by storm.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is fantastic. Let's not overlook that. Josh Allen
Oh,
was
man,
drafted.
what a crazy draft. Look at this. Baker, Sam Darnold,
Josh
Seventh.
Allen, yeah,
seventh. Wow, we passed up on them. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Good call.
What's that?
Good call to draft Saquon over Josh Allen.
Nope.
I mean, no, but, Saquon's looking okay at least.
That's
Like,
hey,
Sam and Baker aren't even in the conversation for, like, a good pick that year. Bradley
be
Chubb,
thankful
Denzel Ward, Quinn Nelson.
you just be
yeah.
thankful he didn't draft Josh Rosen with the 10th overall pick.
Oh, my goodness.
Sorry, I'm
Good
trying
boy.
to.
Justin Fields, I think, was 3rd,
I think he was
8th,
10th or 11th.
15th.
I think it was 11th
13th,
because the
27th.
Giants traded a pick
11th.
and it
11th.
moved down. Yeah.
Okay,
9
and I
spots.
think I'm pretty sure that Patrick Mahomes was 11th or 12th.
He was 13th because
Really?
the Cardinals could have drafted him.
Damn.
Speaking of Justin Fields, like, he didn't look great this weekend, but he did enough to win.
Well, I mean, that's a game. The reason why I picked a different game to talk about after the week ended was because that game was an anomaly game. You couldn't.
Yeah, the
you-
weather.
The weather was so insane that you couldn't. Number one, you got a penalty that you would never see in a million years. The kicker was trying to dry the area of the field with a towel that they were going to place the ball so he could kick it, and the refs threw a flag and gave him unsportsmanlike conduct.
for throwing a flag.
For trying to dry a spot
That's
on the field.
insane. He's just looking out for his own safety there.
100%. It was just a weird. It was and you just don't play in those types of conditions. The quarterbacks, neither of them looked good, but it's like, again, who's going to look good in those conditions?
Tom.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I've seen Tom play great in the snow and
Yeah.
all that shit. But that he's Tom Brady.
It's crazy how Chicago, being like one of the biggest cities in the U.S., still has an outdoor stadium. Like they didn't even build
they're
like
a
a little
poverty
tent over it that
franchise.
huh?
They're definitely a poverty franchise. They
Chicago?
treat themselves like
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
For sure. Okay, we've got 2 more little bites from Dwayne.
Baker took the L this week, so I'm happy, but Cleveland is really going to be limping through this season until Deshaun Watson comes back. Jacoby Brissett could really not get the ball down the field to anybody. Now, mind you, Carolina Panthers have a great pass rush, but a lot of it was on Jacoby Brissett. He had time back there and just could not find anybody. So their run game was strong, and you love to see that. Cleveland won this one because they were definitely feeling very emotional. You know what I mean? They were coming at Baker for printing off all of those off the leash t-shirts. But all in all, I would definitely say that Cleveland has got a lot on their hands until they get their real top tier quarterback behind center.
See, I'd like to ask Dwayne if he believes that they're going to be a good team when Deshaun comes back. If you're listening to these episodes, Dwayne, send us that soundbite.
This brings up a good question I should have asked earlier with other like kind of borderline potential contenders. Do you think they're buying or selling during the trade deadline?
Buyers selling what?
Like that, are they
to
trading
tell.
for players or trading players away?
It's just too early to gauge. I mean,
But the NFL, nobody really does that though. Nobody really is like, oh, I'm going to sell the team because we can get assets for next year. You see like a trade. You only see a handful of trades across the whole NFL before the trade deadline usually.
Right, but in recent history, just in general, the NFL has been more trade happy. Like we've had bigger trades,
during the
more
off
big
season.
trades. Right, but I don't see how that wouldn't carry on into the trade deadline.
It historically hasn't, so it doesn't.
Getting traded midway through the NFL season is very different than NBA or MLB.
Because you're more plug and play in those sports.
Exactly. Like you have to learn the whole scheme, the playbook, find out how you fit. It's different for buyout veteran guys like OBJ and Von Miller last year, right? Going to the Rams. The Rams probably told them exactly how they're going to use them, and they meshed perfectly in those systems. But you don't really see it with big ticket names and trades.
If I'm looking at and especially the Browns, what capital do they? I mean, do they have any capital to trade away? They just traded for Watson.
Potentially a capital punishment.
That's ridiculous. I would, you know what I wish is this will never happen, but I would love for especially with Dak being hurt, I would love for the Cowboys to try to go trade for DK.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's what I think that would be awesome. The only thing that worries me about that is DK is he's I think you guys will light me on fire for this. I think he's like Des Bryant, but he's a better route runner, like better at the position a little bit.
I like DK Metcalf. I don't know why I'd light you on fire for that. I like DK Metcalf a ton. I think he's great.
Oh no! I thought me saying that him and Des Bryant are similar.
Oh no! I mean, Des Bryant was a very physical receiver, right?
Yeah.
Deep threat and everything. I think DK has some. Yeah, I definitely see it. I see the comp.
crazier, way crazier speed.
The only thing that's the only thing that worries me is Des and Dak could never get on the same page. So it's like they're a similar type of receiver, but it could just literally be the individuals.
I think it was also the state of Dez's career that he was in at that point. He was not exactly Des Bryant of All-Pro, Pro Bowl caliber.
Correct. That makes sense as well.
Well, that brings up a good point though. Like, what assets do the Cowboys have to trade away?
Well, they haven't made any trades, so they have first round picks, and I just have to look at what Cleveland had to have given up something good to get Deshaun. So I'm assuming
they gave up the farm for sure.
Yeah, so they don't have that. So they don't have the assets to go trade for anything.
Well, that's if you're talking about picks. You're talking about players.
But you're not going to trade. You're not going to trade.
You're not going to trade away a Myles Garrett if you're trading for a win-now player.
No way. Absolutely not a Myles Garrett. But, they've got...
But why would you trade away a win-now player for a win-now player?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. For what you're saying...
Unless it's an upgrade of the position.
For the question you asked us was, do you think they're going to be buying or selling? I don't think they can buy, because if they're buying, they can only use... Like you just said, like, okay, we'll send Myles and Garrett and Denzel Ward to go get a receiver for Deshaun, but then...
Oh, there's no way they'd send both. I don't even think they'd send... No one trades their cornerstone pieces.
No, just like hypothetically speaking, though, you're not trading away good players to get another good player, because if you're searching for good players, you're in a win-now mode, right? Mm-hmm. And if I'm not searching for good players, then I'm trying to tank. Why would I want a good player who could potentially win games for me?
So why? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So why? So how would they trade? How would they acquire anything? Like, what are they trading to go get a good player?
Other players? I mean,
but what other?
I don't have a specific player on their team that they would trade, but I'm just saying. I was just asking the question: are they buying or are they selling? Like, are they saying, "Fuck it, we'll maybe trade away a player, get some assets, build for next season with Deshaun full season," or are we gonna, try to stick this thing out, give Jacoby another weapon, and try to make a run?
Yeah, I just think they literally here's what they have to sell on their team: Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Watson.
Well, Kareem Hunt, good point. He has been kind of circled around as like a potential trade candidate. He's not probably worth a ton.
But then my thing is, what are you gonna get? What are you gonna go get for him that's gonna improve the team because he's also a huge value on the team if Nick Chubb goes down, or just that you have a great 1-2 punch.
Right. I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying, okay, you look at what they got in the trade. They got Amari Cooper for what, a 5th-round pick? You can sell Kareem Hunt for a 5th-round pick. And if you get a player of that caliber, probably won't happen. I mean, that was pretty big.
Kareem Hunt would be a number one running back on any other team, in any team that's going to trade for him.
Yeah.
He would be there. He's like a number, like he might even be in fantasy like a top 12 running back on his own if he just went to another team.
I don't disagree with you, but running backs just aren't that highly valued in the NFL. So if you were to trade him away, you wouldn't get more than like a 5th-round pick.
But what's the point you're trying to make with Cleveland in specific? Like, I know you're saying are they buying or selling, but what do you mean around that? Like, are they going to win now mode with Jacoby Brissett? Obviously not. But they're going to try and win as many games as possible because they gave up their draft pick, right? So I think it's a pretty cut and dry case. But are they going to trade more assets, more draft capital to try and win more games with Jacoby Brissett as quarterback? I don't expect that to occur. Could it? Sure, who knows? But I don't think the Browns will do that. I think they'll probably play it conservative till Deshaun Watson gets back.
I'm saying, what if they're 4-2, 5-1? Do you think there's a scenario where they're like, hey, we can maybe trade away Kareem Hunt,
well,
get another
then you
receiver.
just say, let's wait till Deshaun Watson gets back. We've won enough games. If he can come in and go 4-2, we're probably going to make the playoffs, and we'll be very content.
And NFL teams literally just don't do this. Like the scenario that you're painting, they NFL teams don't sit there and oh, we're 4-2. Let's go out and get the Cowboys going in and getting Amari Cooper is one of the few times I've seen an NFL team literally be like, oh fuck, we don't have a receiver. We are going to go get one and fix this problem. And they go out and get someone who's a superstar in the league.
And the key was he was available too. The Raiders were looking to move on from him.
Yeah, well, at the time he wasn't a superstar. It was a very controversial trade. They're oh my god, it's one of the worst trades I've ever seen. It ended up playing out really well.
Well,
maybe
that's
not
just
long
because
term, but in the short term it did.
Anybody that knew anything about football wasn't saying it was one of the worst trades you ever seen. It was. We all knew this is how you look at it. Were the Cowboys going to get a better player than Amari Cooper in the first round of the draft the next year? And the answer is he wasn't. The Raiders were gambling on that he was gonna be worse, just keep being worse, but he was still a great player in the league.
Right, you guys definitely won that trade. It's just at the time it happened, he seemed like a washed first-round pick that had one good season and then it was just slumping. So you guys definitely capitalized and won. So I don't think it's going to be a blockbuster trade like that, but I'm thinking, there's a scenario where the Browns are hey, 5-1, those are looking pretty good. Maybe we'll get another weapon.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I think it's just too early to speculate on buying or selling from
If they're
teams.
5-1, why would they trade anything? If you're 5-1,
you ride it.
no teams go and trade when they're no teams are we got to build this. What we got to do is add players to this team. It would be if they were 1-5, and then if they're 1-5, are they a player away from turning that around? And when they have the backup quarterback, the player is literally just suspended right now.
Yep.
We'll light you on fire for this.
Yeah, please.
On to week 2.
One more, Dwayne. One more. This is our final Dwayne soundbite.
I will say this, though. You know who the Cardinals really do miss? Christian Kirk. My man had 117 yards this weekend.
I love that was his last soundbite, that he was because you could tell he's outside, so he was wherever he was at, and he sent everything. And then I thought that he was, when I got this, I thought it was going to be for the next week, oh, here's my prediction for the next week. And it was, no, he's just I got to tell you, Gabe, Christian Kirk is a good receiver.
Yeah, you know who we miss more than Christian Kirk? The guy sitting on our bench suspended for games. Deshaun Watson's old teammate, DeAndre Hopkins.
That's true.
That's who we miss.
All right.
You gotta, they miss him a little bit. Although Hollywood Brown is a better version of him.
Christian Kirk? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's a wash for me, Christian Kirk, Hollywood Brown.
Really?
I think Christian
if you
Kirk's
could pick
better.
either one, you really?
I take Christian Kirk.
You think he's a better route runner?
Yeah. I've never seen Hollywood Brown put up 7 for 116 with a better quarterback than
I have.
Christian Kirk's
he's done that a
working
ton
with.
of times.
A ton? 3?
In Baltimore?
Once a year?
I mean,
he has not done that a ton in Baltimore.
we can look it up later, but I'm pretty sure he's done it, more than a handful of times. He was consistently a 1,000-yard receiver with them.
Okay.
Which doesn't say much. I know it's 17 games, but it's still some for a receiver to get that kind of yardage.
He's just not that good, though.
Week 2, we have 6 games to cover. Cowboys, Bengals. That's the first game we'll talk about. I'm torn on it. It's always, as a fan of a team, you always start being well, this is the way the Cowboys actually could win, because the Bengals didn't look that good. But this is probably a get-right game for the Bengals. They're probably going to come in, and I don't think the Cowboys are going to be able to do enough on offense to win, even if they are able to stifle Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. I think the Cowboys will probably lose this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. But defensively, it's a great matchup for you guys because, it seems like no one can block Micah Parsons. And even though they upgraded the offensive line, they still look terrible. He still got sacked, 6 times, 7 times?
7. Yeah,
Fuck.
I still think the Bengals are going to win.
Yeah.
It's Cooper Rush Cowboys. Yeah, I don't think there's a huge conversation. Joe Burrow's going to get hit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, consensus, Cowboys lose this week. This isn't a fun time for the Cowboys. Probably these next 4 games, the conversations won't be long. Depending on how the games go, maybe the conversation about the game will be longer, because I will say this before I move on, is what'll probably happen is the Cowboys will figure out a way to hang in the game and be there and maybe have a chance to win it in the end, but still come up short is probably what'll happen, something like that. So they'll just be able to break my heart more. We got Giants-Panthers. I think that after watching both of those teams play, I think it's honestly going to be another game that it was how the game was for both of their teams this week, where they played other teams that weren't that great, and it was like more of like it reminds me of like a Three Stooges playing football. Like the ball falls on the floor and then the other guy kicks it, and then when they go take the 2 steps to try to pick it up, they kick it before they can pick it up again. That kind of shit. That's what those games kind of seemed like, and played out this past week. But I do think that the Giants will ride their momentum. I think each team rides their momentum. The Panthers ride the losing momentum, Giants ride the winning momentum, and the Giants win this game, and they start out 2-0. And don't worry, they'll lose enough games after that.
Yeah, I think Giants are going to win.
Giants are going to win. I don't think it's going to be as sloppy as they say it's going to be. It's going to come down.
Is Daniel Jones going to be playing?
Absolutely.
It will be sloppy.
No, it'll be fine. I mean, it's going to come down to shutting down Christian McCaffrey. That's fine. We could do that. DJ Moore, good receiver, but I don't think it's
Robbie
enough
Anderson
to damage
saw more
us.
targets than DJ Moore last week.
It's okay. They're going to get into a fight, him and Baker right before the game. He's going to be mad. He's going to not throw it to him. We're good. Giants win.
Man, we agree. This is the second week in a row where we're just agreeing on most things so far. We have Cards Raiders.
Easy Raiders victory.
Raiders fans were mad at Derek Carr last week. That is one game because we weren't covering it. I didn't watch the highlights. Did either of you guys watch that game? Did Derek Carr play bad?
Yeah, he wasn't great, but at the same time, you're playing the Chargers, who probably have the most beefed up roster in all of football right now. Khalil Mack had 2 or 3 sacks. They added J.C. Jackson in the offseason, Derwin James, Justin Herbert at quarterback. They added Gerald Everett from the Rams. This is a very, very good team. Justin Herbert completed 70+% of his passes, 3 touchdowns, no picks. You're going to lose that football game if you let him do that. So I don't really fault the Raiders. They also added Chandler Jones. I mean, they're going to demolish the Cardinals. I believe that.
The Raiders also have sky-high expectations, which puts a lot of pressure on them. I don't think that we've ever had expectations this high for the Raiders outside of the Super Bowl years. But I don't know, man. They're going to have to really get their shit together. But I think they will. I wanted to pick the Cardinals. I want this guy to have just a little glimmer of hope, but I can't.
I don't even think Gabe wants the hope. I don't even think Gabe wants the hope.
I know. I want the hope for him because
I want to be right more than I want the Cardinals to win football games this season.
That's crazy. Yeah, I'll go the other way on that. But yeah, Raiders win by a touchdown. Derek Carr looks better. Devontae continues demolishing the huge.
Yeah, I think the Raiders win this.
By the way, finish your thing, and then I want to talk fantasy wise.
And DeAndre, if DeAndre Hopkins was in the game, was able to play, I think it would be a different thing. But I think they're really hurting him. Kyler Murray doesn't look like a great NFL quarterback like he was paid to be without DeAndre.
I remember how happy I was last year watching the Cardinals win football games.
Yep.
Yeah, and then they lost a bunch of them, including games on Monday night.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and that really threw a whole wrench in my being a fan of football.
What fantasy thing were you going to say?
So Raiders, I know Josh Jacobs, they're like, oh yeah, he's still the lead back, probably going to split carries. What was his split like with the other running backs?
I know Bolden
receiving touchdown.
Got like a receiving touchdown. Bolden was the better scoring running back. 'Cause I actually have Jacobs in a couple leagues, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs still had he had a similar stat line to Zeke. Or Rashad Penny. Very few touches, but the touches that he did get were good because they fell down early and then they were throwing the ball a lot more. Hence Devontae Adams.
The run.
Yeah. So, you're right. I think we'll see a bounce back from him this week if the Raiders get out in front. they're just going to hand the ball off to Josh Jacobs and watch him go to work.
We were talking about the Chargers and how stacked they are. They're playing the Chiefs this week. That's got to be, that's possibly possibly game of the week, right there. This could be like our Rams. What was it a few years ago?
Chiefs.
Chiefs.
Oh, you mean that high-scoring crazy game? Yeah.
This could be a
video game. Yeah.
The only thing is the Chargers have a better defense. So, but it is Patrick Mahomes. This is tough. I'm going to pick the Chiefs still because the Chiefs, I going Chief, and the Chargers like to lose football games that they have a chance at winning.
Yeah.
Historically. So I'm going to go Chiefs until the Chargers prove that they are, a completely different team now.
I'm going to go with the Chargers. I think there's way too much defensive talent there. Offensively, I trust them a little more too. I mean, even though Patrick Mahomes is better than Justin Herbert, I think when you compare the receivers and the running backs, there's just more talent on the Chargers side. Couple that with the offensive line, which there's less question marks on the Chiefs and on the Chargers than there are Chiefs. I like the Chargers almost every positional group. I think they're more talented and are going to squeak out the win.
I'm going to give a conditional win to the Chargers.
What's a conditional win?
If Keenan Allen plays, I think the Chargers win. If he doesn't play, I'm going to take the Chiefs.
That makes sense.
I'd take him with or without Keenan Allen.
That's
no, Mike Williams can easily step into that number one role.
Gabe, do you think there's any chance that if Keenan Allen doesn't play, that they might go out and buy a good player?
Yeah, trade for like a Kareem Hunt type.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they would trade for him, but maybe they would trade and just get a good player.
I mean, everyone's got picks. What do the Rams say? Fuck them picks, dude.
Yeah, you know who doesn't have picks? The goddamn Browns. We got to think of the complete picture. Yeah. We got to think of the complete picture.
They don't have early picks.
Yeah, I think the Chargers would probably trade for like a Marquise Brown and just botch a trade to potentially get AJ Brown instead. So I don't know.
like the league when he's like Keyshawn Johnson.
No, I think conditional win for the Chargers.
All right, we got a couple more games. Dolphins, Ravens.
That's a fun one. Jalen Waddle, Tua off of a big Week 1 win over the Patriots. And the Ravens looking very competent against the Jets in a murky game.
I don't know why that's so funny to me.
I'm probably going to pick the Ravens. I don't really trust Tua yet. They only put up 20 points on the Pats, and the Pats couldn't move the ball on offense. The Ravens, on the other hand, I mean, they didn't look great against the Jets, but I'm going to pick a winning franchise, and I think they're figuring out how to utilize wide receivers a lot better. Devin Duvernay and Rashad Bateman both had touchdown catches. Devin Duvernay with 2 of them. So I definitely trust the Ravens to be a very good football team in a way I don't trust the Dolphins to yet.
I'm going Ravens, and I'm doing it for a reason that you said in there is you're like, I'm trusting the winning franchise.
Yeah.
The Ravens historically win way more than the fucking Dolphins have historically won in, let's say the past 10 years. And that is my sole reason for it's like one of those, it's kind of like, it's like the Dolphins still have a lot to prove to me for me to start going out on a limb and just picking them to win games against good teams.
That's exactly why I'm picking the Dolphins. I think they have
God damn it, dude.
They have so much to prove. That new head coach, dude. Most of these NFL teams aren't going to roll out their full playbook until week 7, week 8, maybe. You know who has the deepest fucking playbook? The Dolphins.
You know who can't use 80% of the plays because Tua can't throw over 50 yards?
Tua can.
Is it the Dolphins?
We trust.
Yeah, it is the Dolphins.
Hell yeah, dude. I got it right.
Dude, the way they're playing, he won't need to even throw that far.
Again, I need to go back and clip this out. Like what I want to do is if there's just some just the Dolphins getting demolished, just a play that represents the whole game. I want to have you saying that and then have it cut to this play of Tua just getting smashed or just throwing the ball 5 yards behind the receiver, and then we put the fucking curb music on it.
Yeah, it's like the womp womp trumpet reel. Womp, womp.
I agree with everything you guys said. The Ravens are obviously a much more prestigious organization. They should win, on paper, but I like the Dolphins. I think they have way more momentum. I'd rather trust a team that just, beat the Pats pretty bad versus a team that beat a team kind of that was a team they're supposed to beat anyways in the Jets. So we'll see.
And then I think the final game, which is the one I picked, which is not going to be a good football game, is the Niners Seahawks. But we have to pick something that's going to bring me joy this football season, and watching one NFC West team struggle and suck is more than enough joy. In this game, I'm going to pick the Seahawks over the Niners until the Niners start Trey Lance. Elijah Mitchell out for 8 weeks. I do not trust Trey Lance after watching him suck in the monsoon season that was in Chicago. Could not move the football on offense. Their defense held stout. We watched the Seahawks just play a game, a very low-scoring game, and they eked it out against a team with a much better quarterback. So I'm going to go Seahawks over the Niners.
Where are they playing?
They're playing in San Francisco, I believe.
Oh, okay, because that does make a big difference. I think the Seahawks are way better at home. But I still like the Niners. And I don't mean to just be like the, dude who's saying the opposite. Like, I think the Niners are still a playoff team. They made it to the NFC Championship last year. It wasn't a fluke. They were consistently good. And I think that's going to continue. They still have Jimmy G. If they want to go back to being the team they were last year, you have Jimmy G right there. So clearly, I think they're choosing Trey Lance over him for a reason. I think he brings more to the table. Obviously, he didn't show that last week when.
Well, they got to let him play some games.
A monsoon game.
Unfortunately for them, they have to let him play some games. I trust during the regular season. I trust Kyle Shanahan, and I think after losing the first game, I don't think they're going to go to 0-2. And I think that the Seahawks got a lot of false confidence, specifically Geno.
Oh, for sure.
Specifically Geno and the shit that he was saying. It's just like I just think you win.
What are you saying?
I don't even know I don't remember the exact quote, but he was talking shit after the game.
He was talking. Oh man,
who wasn't? They beat Russ.
Yeah, but still, you beat him. They play the game. They should know it's a long season.
A quarterback's in cloud chase too. I mean, he knows his days are numbered. He's not going to start the whole season.
Oh no, well he might start this whole season, but he's not a bona fide. Going to be. He's not going to be starting. He's not going to be an NFL starter in 2 or 3 seasons from now. But I think the Niners figure it out and get a win.
That's fair.
And that's it. That's all we have to cover. I think we did a good. This is like our first. This is our most planned podcast that we've ever done. In the little over 1 season that we've been doing the podcast. So we're trying to get there. Last season we covered like all the games and we did all these picks and everything, and I think it was like jumbled and kind of a mess and shit. So hopefully doing less and being more concise. I think we had some fun conversations. And we were able to make fun of Lucas, which it seems like that's a big part of what the podcast is at this point.
Yeah,
is us telling Lucas why his ideas are bad.
It's okay. It's just because the Cardinals suck. So.
Fuck it. Run those views up, baby.
But thanks for listening. Thanks, Dwayne, for fucking sending shit in. Hopefully you keep doing that because he is still a part of the podcast and one of the 4 hosts of the podcast. Any final parting words before we see more football this week?
Love that it's back.
Thank God it's only week 1. Don't overreact.
Unless you're a Cowboys fan, then just regular react because our regular react is an overreact. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.